Yeah. Hey, my friend, how are you?
We're here, man. We're here in the day after. Um, it's not what we thought it would be. Not not
I
even
would
close.
I would say no. No, I mean I agree with you. It is it is worse than I thought it could be. All
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Me too. Um,
Like I was prepared to not win, not be happy about it, but now but like this was a national statement, right?
yeah. It was yeah, so I mean just to get this out of the way. This is not going to be a podcast where we tell you all what we think happened. Or we chart some kind of way forward. We're going to kind of swim in this moment for a little bit. But
It's 9:20 a.m. Pacific time on 11 November 6th.
and 12:20 p.m. in Pennsylvania, where I am right now still.
Yep.
If there's only one thing that we know, that all of us know. And when I say all of us, I mean everybody. People on TV, people on the field, volunteers, donors, politicos, organizers, talking heads. The only thing we know is that we don't know anything about America. That everything we thought we knew was wrong. It was incorrect. It was incorrect and maybe wrong. Um, and so the I just spent a lot of time with staff members out here, the ones that were out on the ground. I called a breakfast that was pretty mandatory. Um, some of them took it real hard, being on the ground and away from their loved ones and stuff, and having just hit doors and I bet people are feeling it same way in Arizona and in Michigan and in Wisconsin where we had teams. And I called a breakfast, and um, it was just I'm in listening mode. I'm
Mhm.
in research. I'm in learning mode. That's where I am.
Yeah, me too. I when things are very difficult and require expansion of the mind, um, it's I believe it's imperative to not rush to judgment or decisions, to listen, to consult, to hear. Um, I don't really kind of like try to get to thoughts. I just have more like what words kind of come to mind for me at this time.
Mm.
So I have a couple words this morning, but but just in a general sense, I'm with you,
Well,
100% in terms of like listening a lot. I do have one thing that I think I know for sure this morning,
oh, okay.
is that the response has to be creative and systemic. All right. And that, like, CP is a system. All right.
Hmm.
We are a system of education, leadership
Yep.
development, and action. And that is the system that is essential. So, like, those three pillars to me, all by themselves, are what we built. And we need to be creative about how we go forward with that. And also, though, all of those components are essential.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what me and the staff were talking about. And me, Wole, and Ben had a lot of conversation about just what you said right there. So more on that. I do want to say that David and I started this podcast on the tenor that we started it on because right before we pressed the record button, we did a gut check about where we think everybody is. And the thing that is really interesting about our community is that there's not a bunch of doom and gloom in the Slack. There's not been like text messages, all the different ways we receive messages. It's not been doom and gloom. It's a lot of thanks for CP. It's a lot of, were it not for this community, I would be utterly destroyed. There's a lot of, I'm so glad I have this place. There's a lot of, we are gonna, you know, put our boots on. There's a lot of just like consolidation of community and unity, which made us feel like we could enter into this podcast episode not in this dark place that we've traveled to over the course of the last few hours. And, full transparency on that. Yeah, there are moments where I get there, you know. I get down sometimes. I think you probably do, David,
Yeah.
when you think about your kids, right?
Yeah.
Um, Anybody who's a parent, grandparent, are just concerned about the next generation when you think about what they have to go through and what they've grown up in, the people who are gonna have to run and the people who are gonna have to hide now. Like that's some heavy shit right there. And I don't want to like pretend like that's not happening. So just to give you all full transparency, like it does hit me sometimes. Um, just like all y'all.
Yeah. I yeah, I think an empathic love for and gratitude. No, yes, gratitude is in there, but just like a collective consciousness of everybody's pain must be everybody's pain. All
Mm,
right. That that it's imperative that we all go through this, that the way through this is collectively, right? It's collectively. And that for people who are specifically, I mean, right off the bat, people of color and immigrants, especially, and women, their freedoms, those are those are very, very difficult right now. And
yeah, and
I
queer
think,
folks and yeah,
yep. And we at CP, I think, are determined to be in that together.
yeah.
Um, these are two words that I have, and I want to put them on the table and just
Okay.
kind of get your reaction to them. The first is clarity.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
clarity. Um, when we won't do this analysis and this, and we probably won't even do. Oh, and tonight, everybody join us if you can at 5 p.m. Pacific time tonight for a community meeting, and then again 5 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday for another community gathering. We will
Tomorrow. Yeah.
tomorrow on Thursday. We will be together. We will be together. And we won't do a ton of analysis then, now or then. But I think that the clarity to me is that this is an across the nation decision. All right. That this nation decided this. They saw the worst of Donald Trump and they picked him. They did. And so, in the words of my 17-year-old son, as I drove him to school today, he said, "I think this says more about America than it does about Trump." All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
that kind of clarity can be empowering in my kind of life experiences. Like clarity brings an ability to figure out the path forward. So that's one word I want to get your response to. And the second word I want to say is that I have in my mind is creative. All right.
Hmm.
That the language that we use that Kamala Harris put on the table and that we rallied behind of we are not going back, I think is absolutely true. We are not going back to anything. We are not. We must go forward to a new creative place where we bring together these things of education and leadership development and action across racial and generational lines. It has to be done in increasingly more and more creative ways, and we have to take some time to figure out what those are going to be.
Hmm.
Yeah, those are my
Yeah, we
two
talk.
two words I have.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's the so on the clarity piece, I think that let me go backwards. I think the on the creativity piece, that's what we were talking about, me, Wale, and Ben for the last hour, um, about what we what we must do now differently. And not like precisely, but like we cannot do old traditional things
Yep.
that those are been proven to be ineffective. And not just ineffective at like changing what exists, but also knowing what exists because we didn't know. It's like one thing to to understand something and know it, and then to try to change it. And we didn't even know that it was that the country was like this. We didn't know. Um, so yeah, we're thinking about that a lot. We're thinking about everything from the content that we create to the way that we take action.
Hmm.
So and there'll be a lot of path on that. And I want to say that there's a ton of energy there. There's a
Mm.
lot of energy there in that space. Like it's just it's flowing. Like I think that the clarity has given us more creative parameters. And like they talk about if you want people to be really creative, you actually give them guardrails. You don't say it can be anything. You give them this like description of what you want them to accomplish and you remove all these other distractions and they create something very, very good in this like within these boundaries. And we've got boundaries now. We've got new boundaries. So for people who are creative in the ways that we are around people and communities, this is an interesting time. On the clarity piece, it's interesting you have the thing that your son said because the most clarity that I received last night were on the two phone conversations with my sons.
Oh.
Um, and it's just so interesting that it's these young men because that's a huge question mark coming out of this,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? How did they get to where they got? Why? Where are they going? You know, across whatever socioeconomic, racial, ethnic, income level, like it's all been changed. So, because I called the two of them individually, uh, I called my oldest Dejan first. I called Kai first, my youngest, and he was sleeping or didn't answer. And I called Dejan
Well, it was
back.
like 12 or 1 in the morning, right? Okay, so
I know, which is like prime teenager awake
okay.
time, you know. It's like they're having third dinner or something. So I called Dejan and I was like, "Hey man, you see this? What's going on with this? With the election?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I saw it." And I was like, "Man, what do you think about why it turned out this way? Because I don't even know what to think looking at this map." And he's like, basically like I've been telling you, it's the internet. He's like, the internet has changed everything. It's changed everyone's minds. It's changed the way that what they think about stuff. And people just act different with the internet. And he said it in like some other terms that I can't even like repeat because I
Hmm.
don't talk like a Gen Zer. But he was so sure, right? I've heard him say this before to me, and I've just kind of blown it off before. But in that moment, I realized that he understood those voters more than I did. There's nuance to what he's saying, and I told him I was like, listen, over the next few days and weeks, I want to talk to you more about what you think happened and why people chose that way because I think you understand it more than I do. And I want you to tell me more about like the things you see and what you think people believe and why they would make this choice. And he was like, "Yeah, that's cool." Like it was like, but it was like so matter of fact, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and then Kai Kea, I called, he called me back and I said something similar. And I was like, and your brother's just like saying it's the internet, you know, it's all different. And that's how Trump won. And it was all digital and it was all the internet. And then I kind of like did this thing that you do as a parent where you try to like guess what they're thinking and then like suggest, you know. So it's probably this, right? You think it's this. So I said, so this door knocking thing I just made you do, because they're out with me knocking on
Yeah.
doors in Arizona. It probably doesn't matter as much anymore, huh? And then he goes, I don't know about that. I think it matters more. He's like, I think because the internet is like everything to people, then the only way you break through is by talking to people. And I'm like, does this, he's like saying my words back to me. Uh, and I like clarified, and he's like, this is what I was like, yeah, it takes, he said something to the degree of like multiple touches. And I was just like, all right, man. He was sure about it. So it's very interesting how our young sons have clarity
Yeah, I
around all
want
this
to
stuff.
just add to that because my son also said one additional piece, which chimes
Mm.
very hard with what you're
Mm.
saying. So um, he was first. I mean, first I don't know, but he was very loving to me, and I'll never forget that.
Oh,
Right?
that's
It's
cool.
like how you doing, Dad? You know, and Dad, which is just really important. Like he didn't need to say any of this, right? And he did. But after he said that statement about it's more about tells us more about the country than it does about Trump. I said, yeah, and I'm really committed to the work that we do at Common Power, the whole system of education, leadership development, and action. And he said, yeah, especially education, especially young people.
Mm.
That's what he said. And I really wanted to follow up and ask him, like, what's behind that additional statement that you made there about especially young people, right? Of like, can you help me to understand what why Trump is attractive? Okay, why and not just to white people by any means, right?
Right.
But attractive, and how the sexism and misogyny plays out, right? And so, given what you've said with Kakea and Dejan, I want to follow up with him and
Yeah.
just ask him to tell me what's in that for you, um, because it is technological, it is generational, it is social, and uh, tied to like pandemic kind of stuff too. There's like a lot of things in there, right? And
Yeah.
and I I'm I I believe and I'm certain about the creativity that we have. We are a creative organization. That is what we are, and we will get through this in creative ways. I'm confident that there are certain things that we're going to end up doing here that will never discard our core principles of education, leadership development, and action, but that
Mm.
each of them is going to get molded differently,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, completely. Completely. Um, so the tonight we're gonna do I think we're gonna hold space and listen to people, let people talk. I think that it's gonna be tough for people for sure. Um, I can only imagine there's a we're talking a lot of strategy right now because we run this organization and because we have to answer the questions of like what are we gonna do next? Where are we gonna do it? How are we gonna do that? Um, but there are people today who have very tactical worries. We are a national organization now, and there are people who are not in Seattle. There are people in these red states, and for
Yep.
them, they have family members in these red states. They have children and grandchildren, friends, and they have to go into a different mode than we have to. And that's a scary time. It's a really scary time for people. So we're not going to jump into, I know we talked a lot about that just now, kind of the shape of it, but we're not going to jump into that because we got to hold space for those people who are experiencing something completely different right now.
Yeah, I feel like the leadership that like and you've been driving this already with your Slack messages. The leadership here is that we're we're having this podcast right
Hmm.
here to let everybody know that this is going to be where we're going to end up, where we're going to end up with these kind of thoughts. That's all we got is like
Hmm.
ideas and thoughts right now. But we're
Yeah.
not looking to define those or to
Right.
solidify those at all. We're putting those out there so that then we can go into this period of processing and grieving for a period of time. Yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I personally feel like we owe it to all of you, to everybody, to let you know that we are both and here. We are both
Yes.
we are both ready to go forward. We will. And we are fully present in this moment um, with everybody. And that's what we'll do tonight and tomorrow. And then we'll start to turn the page.
Yeah.
You'll be back on Zoom? Where will you be exactly at 5 o'clock Pacific time?
So, yeah, I was gonna rush home tonight to be with the family, but then I realized that if I did that, I would have been on an airplane during this. So I delayed my flight. So I'm gonna fly out tomorrow morning instead, so I can be with everybody virtually.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and that's just a, you know, that's a cost of this like broader thing that I want for all of us because it all like it's not like one or the other. Exactly. The taking care of the broader community helps take care of my family,
Mm.
because people are gonna, I don't feel alone. And my family is known to people and folks are gonna look after my family. So, my family will be better off if I take care of everybody. So that's the way I see that. But it is yeah, it's not easy.
And tonight on the Zoom and tomorrow, it will be not just you and me. It will be all four directors. It will be whatever other staff choose or can make it. Right. We
Hmm.
will be there. And the voices will be multiple. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's going to be some community members, there's some specific community members that we've asked to come because they they get moving through these types of moments and they've shown that time and time again. And we need to hear from them too.
Exactly.
We need,
We got a little bit of that last night, right at the end.
we did at the
Right.
end. Yeah, and
And
immediately you're like, "Can you come to the thing
it's
tomorrow?"
like you and I don't know if you felt that, Matt. Like, were you feeling
Oh,
that?
immediately. Immediately. It was like it was instantaneous. It was like the tenor of her voice. It was the love that was coming from it. It was just like immediately comforting. And I was just like, we need this. Uh, so yeah, maybe we'll get more people there if we say Miss Faye will be there.
Miss
And
Faye. Yes.
she's bringing, um, she'll be bringing the love with her. I would love it if Mr. Needy could be there. I would love it if, I mean, people are gonna come. I hope, you know.
Yep.
But folks, the one of the cool things about our community is that we have all these leaders that wear multiple hats. And so today they're gonna be asked to be in all kinds of places. So if they can be with us, cool. If not, then totally understandable.
And our phones are both constantly getting text messages, Slack messages.
Yeah.
Everybody, keep bringing them, please.
Yeah.
Keep putting them in the Slack. Keep bringing them to Charles and me and Terry and Larcy and other staff members. Like, let us put our arms together, right?
Yeah, actually, I have an ask, and that is I need you to message the young people that we've had in our system. If you've been on a trip with a young person, um, like, there's a bunch in Pennsylvania just now, there was some in Arizona. I need you to message them. Don't expect anything back. Don't
Nope.
ask them for a reply, but message them and let them know that you've got their back. Message, and it's the Action Academy students that took their first trip with us this year. It's the staff members who have been on their, 3 dozenth trip. They need to hear from you. Let them know you've got their back. Let them know that you care about them and that you think that they can make it through this because this will be very new to some of them. I think Ben talked about how old she was in 2016 and that she's not felt it. She doesn't know what it's like to go through the night that we went through in 2016. And I think a lot of them don't. They were too young to have it fully register. So this is their 2016. And and I know some of you don't think that that you know how you're gonna make it through, but you know more of how to make it through than they do. So please reach out to them.
Yep. Um, all right, man. We gotta go. We got other things to get to, but it's good to be here with you, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we're gonna do it, man. Together. Let's go.
Let's go.
All
All right.
right.
See ya.
See you soon.